All right, all right, all right. So this is a continuation of The Wife of Job, and I'm going to
Mhm,
read account version 2, and I'm doing this with my friend Solomon.
mhm,
He is indeed a king, and he indeed has wisdom due to humility and him aiming for righteousness, unlike wise King Solomon, who was wise but unrighteous, because they're not the same. So with that
Amen.
said,
Thank you.
before I continue, do you have anything to say, Solomon?
Um, may the grace of God be upon us. So wherever we are about learning, we may learn and understand completely.
Amen, amen. All right, so this is account version 2. Because the
Mhm,
first version I took basically uh the chapters in Job of what transpired, and then I wrote it from the first person to kind
mhm,
of immerse you into the experience, into her experience and how she's experiencing it, and what she was how she was processing the situation, how she was feeling, on and on it goes. And because the account from the scriptures is more from the third person, where it seems as if like you almost have like a God's eye view of God,
mhm,
the Satan, and Job and his wife and his friends even. You see, so it's like you get to almost like listen in on a conversation in a situation. Yet, despite being given this perspective, curiously enough, you still don't fully understand God's perspective. You
mhm,
still don't fully understand what He's doing. You kind
mhm.
of there's still like things to be known. It's almost as if like despite what's reported or what it is you can read about or look at from the outside, the interpretation is still required, and it doesn't. It's hmm, the situation, the topic doesn't yield insights immediately.
Mhm.
So that's why these works are very difficult because this is wisdom seeking, and and what is that proverb about? Like seek wisdom, though it cost you everything, and like how like it is the glory of kings, or God like kings like seek wisdom, like people looking
Yeah.
for treasure. So Bible's written in a way where it's like it invites your actual commitment and devotion. Do you actually want to understand? If this is the work, the revelation of the Creator, then it's not going to be simple. It's not going to be just like a snap of the finger and instantly you get it. It's more in the process of trying to understand you transform. So
Mhm,
yeah, so that's kind of what's going on. But account version number 2 is a different version. You could say it's my actual version without using the scaffold of the original when I did the first. Also, all of this was pretty much a stream of consciousness, if you want to put it like that. Or yeah,
mhm.
pretty much. Like there was not much structure and organization and not much editing. So, and also sometimes, things like demons screw up my writing now when I'm looking at the page. So I might have to like edit it and now see like, okay. But overall, this work is also a surprise for me too, because I wrote it, but I haven't actually examined it, if you know what I mean. So it's just like
Mhm.
that I poured out of
The
me.
raw form of it.
Exactly, yeah. So now, but then sometimes when I was writing it, I knew what I was trying to communicate. But now you could say, receiving it, I'm trying to get what's being communicated to me
Mhm,
as a receiver of this too, and what this expresses about, just life and being a person.
mhm.
So yeah, with all that said, I will begin reading account version 2 when it starts, which is all about me are the clouds in the sky. I cannot wave away the rumors, basically gossip.
Mhm.
They hold my arm, dance me when I turn to walk from that day, whose sun has set on all days. That's pretty clear. What's
Mhm.
happened, it feels like there's no future. Everything is horrible from now on going forward. You know,
Mhm.
like when you go through things like things will never change. It'll always suck. It'll always be bad forever and ever.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
So that's basically how she's
You feel
feeling.
like you are stuck in a loop.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Like a hell loop. Like it just doesn't change. It's eternity.
Mhm,
What
mhm,
I've been
mhm,
through is eternal now. Like my sense of time has frozen.
mhm,
And the fact that I even have memories, the past merely feeds into this present I'm stuck in forever.
mhm, mhm.
So yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. In speech, words are treated as a prize because it will be shared with the sympathetically poor. I mean, you all know this, where it's like, you're trying to like share what you've been through, and it's like it's a gift. It's very important to you.
Mhm.
You're sharing it, but but people who have poor sympathy,
Okay.
people who can't sympathize, like if it's first there's gossip, and then there's like, oh, I'm stuck in this situation forever, and then people don't seem to understand what I'm going through, no matter even if I could put it into words. And then
And even, I think even if they'll be able to understand, they will not be able to understand it from your perspective. They will
exactly,
not, because they've not been in your position, isn't it? They've not felt what you felt,
exactly.
right?
Yeah,
So there will be no sympathy. Like some maybe partial sympathy, but most no sympathy
yeah,
because they've not felt what you felt. They've not been through what you've been through.
it's
Yeah.
true. And even weirder, even if the person has been through what you've been through before and felt that, if they're not feeling
Mhm.
at the time, they can't really relate to you.
Relate with it. Exactly.
It's like if
Exactly.
you've been hungry before, but when you're full, you can't relate to yourself
Hmm.
when you're hungry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like you just be like, oh, I remember. You can describe it, but it's like because you're not experiencing it, doesn't have the same hit
Hmm.
behind it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's true. It's true.
yeah. So the next part, she's like, the silent thoughts of all beat down with the noon sun. The bored gawkers urge naked pride to wrestle in the mud of honor. Basically, she's like, people are judging me silently. So there are rumors,
Hmm.
there are people who, if I express them in words, they have poor sympathy, and people are silently judging me. And they're looking
Hmm.
when I'm walking, and my pride is naked, and I'm trying to wrestle in the dirtiness of honor. Basically, I am ashamed, I am disgraced by what I've been through.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
this is raw. I mean, this is just, it's very terse, but it captures a lot of what people experience when they go through things. It's like, if you went through something like this, I mean, you're like, oh, we're like the richest and the greatest people in this area, location, and yet look at us, what has fallen to us. Our children are dead,
Yeah.
our stuff got destroyed, our house destroyed, and our man, the man who had great integrity and all this other stuff, who was faithful to God, he's covered in boils and sitting in ashes, and he's depressed and in despair. You see?
Yeah. And
And then,
I
yeah.
think for Jobs, right? The
Mhm.
one thing that makes it more complicated is the switch was it just came at once.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's in part that's why it's written that way, so it feels like one thing after the other.
Hmm.
Because it can't be like that supernaturally, of course, but it's also supposed to give you the sense of like, when you go through something bad and something bad else happens, it feels like there's no space in between them.
Hmm.
Even
Hmm.
if there's like a literal day between them or like
Hmm.
hours, it just feels like, oh, then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. Even though like there's lots of stuff that happened in between, those they just vanish.
Exactly.
So time gets
Exactly.
compressed to all the horrible things you're going through.
Hmm. I
So,
get it.
yep. And now the next part, she's like, there goes the picking on the fields. The talk of master and servant's affairs, the groggy sod of been before spoken of freely. The work, milk from goats, the smatter and carve of fresh meat, fruits left to dry, grinding to make grains, the shaving hairs of the dead cattle for tents, the containers and bowls and horns. There picks the finish of the day. At the
Hmm.
ports, white hair of the deep, the glistening cheeks of her surface, and her waving as all take their leave. The wall of homes before the sights, and the dreams of night, free with the shining bead gliding slowly along a hidden thread. Basically, what she's saying is like life just goes on. Like
Yeah.
that's just what she just lays it out. And even though as it carries forward, first you could say it's very mundane in terms of like this was what people do day to day.
Hmm.
Like it kind of gets like this sense of like, oh, this is look at the wonder, the beauty. But even like the wonder, the beauty goes on without you two. That's why I made it
Exactly.
the end. I made it
Exactly.
so it's like, yeah, people just do what they're doing. What's still beautiful and wondrous is still there, but I'm still going through what I'm going through.
Exactly. The world doesn't pause for you.
Exactly. It doesn't pause despite what you've been through. So that's why the first section you could say that's the social. The second is about the civilization and the creation.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. And then you could say, I'm not sure why I wrote it. I think these sections are like kind of like expanding
Hmm.
within this, or maybe after she kind of gives like a compressed summary of what's going on. Because you could say the first two paragraphs are her outward focus. Here's the people and here's
Hmm.
creation. And now this is her expressing more and more of herself. And like I told you, how like I wrote it in a way where it's like, oh, good grief, this just keeps going on and on. It doesn't end. I'm tired of like
Yeah.
the sense of just constantly expressing misery over and over again. And it's because when you're going through stuff, it's like you know, what happened? Is your battery low?
Yeah. 1%. But let's talk till it gets the lights
Oh,
out.
oh, so you couldn't charge your phone,
Mm-mm.
and your battery wasn't checked for where it was before we started
It
this.
was it was 40%,
Oh,
but
it's
it drains faster. Yeah.
oh, it drains faster. Okay,
Mhm.
we'll see.
Like,
I mean,
yeah, let's talk. Let's talk.
So anyway, it's like dawn. Worries have left me no sleep.
Hmm.
They first came as perverse and cruel plunderers.
Hmm.
They shackled their hands about my wrists and ankles and began to carry me. I struggled,
Hmm.
but neither leg could push nor kick its way free. Neither arm had force equal to their stone-crushing grasp.
Hmm.
I wished my strength were that of a lioness, so my hands could claw them away. But I am limp of wrist, tender-shouldered, and stubborn foolish concerning my strength.
Okay. So
Hmm.
this is the part where like she's actually attributing the pain she's going through. Like she's should I say she's giving it personalizations or something?
Yeah, yeah, she's fleshing it out. When you
Hmm.
read so much that you can't sleep,
Hmm.
and then it's like it feels as if the worries are kidnapping you, they're taking you away, and you can't fight them. So yeah, well, he's gone, but it's fine. But no worries, I'll just continue. So he who stood the pose that measured the height of the heavens, he who established the tent above, and divided for man and woman their place to dwell, he, the faithful, has betrayed us. So first, just sets up God's in control. He made this creation and he gave everyone their place. But what's presumed in this is Eden, that we don't live in a fallen creation, that we still live in a creation where God said it's very good. So keep that in mind, how she's not actually qualifying what she's saying necessarily, because there's a sense that, oh, this world should still work in a very good way. And then God should still be very intimate to human beings to sustain these things the way they are. But there's way more going on than she's currently aware of. But she puts it as he, the faithful, has betrayed us. So there's a type of irony. So next she says, His grace was once a tent. Keep in mind, grace is unearned favor, undeserved. It's generosity, basically. It's just like, so his generosity, if you will, his charity, his kindness was once a tent, shielding from the scalding sun, at night providing warmth, and holding from our heads the rain. That's pretty clear. Like even materially speaking, but also emotionally. Now the pegs have been rooted out. His cover batters our heads. The clouds that hide the sun are overfilled with rain. The mountain that guarded us throws down many fists. So, basically like he built this for us and gave us good, and now what he built for us and that he's sustaining, he's using it to like torture us and beat us down. He, the faithful, has betrayed us. Because that's how it can feel like when you go through things in life. Or it's just like maybe it feels like if I was born in perpetual misery and all I knew was misery, I would never have to expect any good, if you want to put it like that. But since I've known good at times, and I've known other people have good, the misery feels more magnified because I have a contrast. Or it's just like, no, no, it's just, this is not how it should be. I've known the good, so the good ought to persist and be eternal and never change. But that we, there's an experience of fallenness, of brokenness, creates a sense of, gives you a sense of violation of trust or violation of expectations, if you will. Because, the difference between a trust and expectation, a trust is sort of like a relational commitment to the person. And an expectation is sort of like, even in the type of entitlement, even like an expectation is like, I am to inherit this. This has been promised to me. It's guaranteed. And as a result, I am looking to receive this, whether a time was given or the type of promise or type of gift was characterized to me for me to recognize when I receive it. So there's lots of stuff happening here where trust and expectation or even entitlement are being they're losing their proper roles and work. So because she uses relational terms, but there's a sense she's not actually relating to God. She's relating to what God provides and how God has shaped things up, but she doesn't actually speak as if she knows him necessarily. I want you to keep that in mind, and this happens to a lot of us. So we know he's the creator, he sustains all, and in her case, from her perspective, well, he's faithful because he made all this and, he keeps it, but now he has betrayed us. there's sense of like, oh well, he was to be loyal to us. What's the betrayal? What's the betrayal? It's like, well, I guarantee all the good that you've been given, all the good that you received, all the developments and so on, will persist as is, I guess, till you die, if you want to put it like that, you know. But like Job said in this work, where is it? After, his wife says in the scriptures, curse God and died, Job says to her, "You speak as one of the foolish women speaks. Shall we indeed accept good from God, and shall we not accept adversity?" In all this, Job did not sin with his lips. Also, to keep that key, that Job did not sin with his lips, but in his heart, he's probably like, this is some BS, F this, nah, like, so that's why I even wrote this work. So, because the wife is articulating what's there, probably there with him too. That's why I decided to write this work, but he's not expressing it, but he's feeling it for sure. So, but what he says is indeed wise, but it's easy to say, harder to actually go through. It's like, yeah, we'll take good, but why can't we take bad as well? Yeah, we'll take comfort. Why not take challenge? We'll take success. Why not take failure? On and on it goes. That's easy to say. Harder to endure. Harder to accept as a result. We don't want to endure and we don't want to accept this. We want to accept the good because there's no enduring good. It's like, oh, this goodness is so over. No, no, no. It's just like this is beautiful. If anything, sometimes you want to be overwhelmed by goodness, rapture, all and on it goes, like joy, delightful, and so on. But of course, that can make you foolish. So there's a way in which sometimes the bad makes us more sober. You gain sobriety, so you consider deeper. You investigate more carefully. You evaluate yourself. You evaluate your relationships, your life, and this world more carefully, and you seek deeper intimacy with God and who He is, what He's doing. So in this next section, she asks what we do. She's kind of going through the typical thinking when people go through stuff. When it comes to God, it's like, who could search and pry into the other hand of God? You know, and I think what I was writing is like you could say the power, the right hand, because the next line is his left has closed his wisdom to us, and kind of like has a sense of like, oh, the left hand is like evil or darkness, if you will, or like, if you think of like some esoteric traditions and so on, but this sense of like, you can't fathom God's power. You can't get, and that's actually a key theme that's going to come through this sense of like, the power that he has is inaccessible. And as a result, it makes what he does unintelligible. It makes what he can do unintelligible. It makes what he allows unintelligible. You can't understand because his power is so beyond. A power that actually allows your mind to be, but you can't think beyond the one who made your mind and keeps your mind working any more than you can't imagine how your imagination works. You can't imagine it's working necessarily. And whatever you do to consider it as it's working is just full of representations, just kind of just digesting different operations and schemas and on of the mind and stuff. And either communicating it through language or through symbols, on and on it goes. But imagination itself, it's like it's hard. It's like trying to say be with trying to say like you have a word that has the letter T in it and other nouns, consonants, and so on that don't express B, the labial, but you can't express those words, that word even, and saying T in the same instance. So there are limitations. There are diverging expressions, diverging domains. And even though like there's no at times no clear unity when it comes to understanding certain things, when you see them in part, you just note that there's still some sort of relationship, some sort of translation that can happen, even if momentarily there's no immediate intimacy. And that sounds very abstract, but it's to say like God will at times do things that you cannot see the relationship it has to you, or even to what you currently understand and know about him, or to your life, and on it goes. Yet there's still some translation, there's still communication that will eventually happen, that will bring some illumination, that will bring some understanding. So in the meantime, What is required is merely trusting him. Because if not, then you feel like his left has closed his wisdom to us. He has laid a curtain on our eyes. He's keeping you in the dark. And even how she's writing this, how this is written, how this presented is the sense of like, there's a sort of betrayal. It's like, not only have you broken a promise that was not necessarily explicitly articulated to me, it's more like an expectation and entitlement of sorts. Now you have blinded me to understand why you have done this. I mean, because the thing is, but that's how a betrayal tends to feel. Whenever you feel betrayed, you don't know why you were betrayed. A betrayal that you instantly understand doesn't feel much of a betrayal at times. But the deepest betrayal are the ones where it's like, wow, this happened to me. You did this to me, and I don't know why. That hurts even more. Or it makes it feel like if I knew why, it hurt less. That is, if I knew what motivated you, what made you do what you're doing. Like, is there something you're trying to achieve? Something you're trying to keep? Something you're trying to, just bring about anew? Something you're trying to maybe correct or add on to from the past, on and on it goes. Because so many different things pop up when it comes to intentions and motivations with, persons. So next, there's this question like, what is to be done has been done? And it's like, is this it? Is this it? Like, what has happened has happened? Almost like a type of like, almost like a type of unbelief. All of a sudden, it's like I can't believe this has actually happened though. Like, what's going on? And like, what more is intended? Like, what else will happen? What else is he doing? We go through this one. Like, you go through things. You're just like, oh, what's next? What other bad thing can happen? You know, but then you just kind of default and accept, and you're just kind of like, you kind of just like drop the thought, and you kind of sink emotionally, or just maybe you feel a moment of apathy. You're like, what is to be done, and the intent are hard to know. Hmm. So, what to do? I don't know what to do, and I don't know why things are happening the way they are. I don't know the purpose or the goal or the movement or the start. So, eh. But then she jumps to, has Job hidden confessions from me that God knows? Just like, basically what Job's friends say to him. Basically like, Job, the reason these things are happening to you is because you've done bad stuff, karma, what goes around comes around. Equal and opposite reaction, if you will. So there's a sense of like, you can't be experiencing what you're experiencing unless it's deserved, unless it's earned. So you probably did something bad in your past life or in your current life or whatever, and that's why you're going through what you're going through. When people say things like that to you, because we have a sense like good, good results meet with good actions. Bad results meet with bad actions sometimes, but that's more of a justice scheme when it comes to like a final judgment of justice. But that's not how the creation usually works. That's not even how you work. Sometimes you'll do wrong and get good out of it. Sometimes you do right and get bad out of it. In fact, there's this book by Lisa Feldman Barrett. No, no, that's not her name. She's How Emotions Are Made. What's her name? Uh, anyway, it's called Thinking in Bets, where she presents like when it comes to making decisions, focus on the quality of the decision making, not necessarily on the results, because you can make the right decision in terms of like thinking it through and planning and factoring the best you can with great judgment and so on, but it won't guarantee your outcome. So sometimes people will judge what people do based on the outcome instead of like the reasoning, if you will. That is like the logistics, like, oh, what are the resources you were using? How did you employ those resources? What went where? How was the timing? On and on it goes. Once you get all that together, you're like, oh, the logistics is actually quite well done. Like it was actually well done, but it's like I was not expecting there to be a car crash in my delivering of this idea or execution of this plan, from logistics and stuff. When it comes to like transportation, transferring goods and services, or even when you think of like if you order something from Amazon or anywhere, or if you're driving anywhere or walking anywhere, it's like that's kind of a type of logistics. You're reasoning, you're moving. It's like I'm trying to get here. And I thought it through. If I take this path, I'll be able to get to this place like that really fast and without any trouble. But then as I'm going, all of a sudden it's like the weather said it was not going to rain, but it rained, and then there was a car crash, and on it goes. It's like all this stuff that I was not expecting. So my expectations, my entitled sense of how this was going to play out, despite my consideration and planning and on it goes, and the information I had available was violated. So if I had a sense like, oh man, this is so simple. There's no reason why this should have messed up because I ask myself a lot, especially with well, how this demon bothers me, or sometimes it's like, why do these little things keep messing up? There's no reason why for this little thing should mess up. It should just go like this. It's that simple. Input, output, do, result. Press, response. That's all it is. But that's not how it plays out because there's more things in heaven and earth that are dreamt of in anyone's impoverished love of philosophy, impoverished love of wisdom. So it's just one of those things where it's like, when you consider there's more going on, naturally the creation will not work the way you're used to, if you will, or a situation will not work the way you're used to. Because that example I gave, you're going to the store, you're like, well, typically, if I get the weather will be accurate, and if I'm going this way, I'll be able to get there and nothing will interfere. But you have to realize there's extra, there's excess, there's more. It's not just what it is you took into account. And likewise, the same with the creation too. Because Job and his wife and his friends, and even we think it's just God. Like, oh no, God, this is God doing everything. But if you remember the beginning, it's the Satan. There's more than just God and God's creation and God's relationship to us. It's also the Satan who's making accusations against us. The Satan who's making accusations against even God, trying to be like, yeah, nah, no one actually loves you. No one actually cares about you. No one actually will understand you or wants to understand you. On and on it goes. Like, just, you know how these creatures are. They're so stupid and just like they'll miss the basic logic of dependence, the basic logic of reliance, the basic logic of just like if you're their creator and their sustainer, even if they die, you can resurrect them. They won't get that logic when they go through things, when they feel pain, because the feeling of pain will become greater than you in their hearts. So that's basically what this work is about in many ways. So yeah, with that said, I'll continue. Another today is a cloud that stands around us, like many anxious guards around a tower. Before my eyes, today does not rain. Tomorrow is the eclipse to yesterday. Yesterday the sun rose and brought a storm, and sleep has flown with the birds. So she just keeps going, this sense of just fragmentation of time and weather, just kind of like that's kind of how her mind's like moving. You know how like when you go through things, your mind just keeps bouncing back from present to future, bouncing back from different states, from like, oh, this weather to that weather, emotionally speaking, and even situationally, like, oh, on and on it goes. And kind of playing off the theme of even the dawn where, the words did not let her sleep. So, and sleep has flown with the words. Each night I make warmths of midnight snow, as jitter furs of cold rub my toes. I mean, that's pretty clear, freezing. In the noon, my weary stupor is the cool shade under the clinging heat, where in a muck of breast, pits, and back sweat, I feel the wind flap through my robes. So, discomfort. On and on it goes. Psychological and physiological discomfort and pain, and on and on it goes. So now this is noon. We are as trees in a storm, flailing about like drowning children in waves. If he would die, then he could return to live anew. So she's presenting some sort of either reincarnation or a resurrection. It's kind of presenting sometimes when people go through things and you want to maybe commit eunastasia. I think that's how I pronounce that. I can't remember the word for right now, but just a sense of we can either, if this person would die, they could just die and fade to nothing, right? Or maybe they'd be reincarnated or they'd be resurrected, on and on it goes, or whatever. But if don't really know what characterizes death and what is to be had of death, if you tell people to die even out of wanting to free them from their pain, you may be causing them more harm. But it's just, I remember what I said in the previous video how there's a sense that when you think God is evil, when the devil's torturing you and making you think God is evil and you're going through all sorts of horrible stuff, basically what Job is going through, you feel like I'm not even allowed to die because it's God, creator of all, sustainer, and so on. So it's like there's no freedom, there's no peace. And that's that sense of overwhelm, that sense of rawness of power, where if you forget about his character, and I guess some of it is just, you know how like if you're familiar with working memory, we can only hold in 7 items at a time, and how we think and how we talk, even if we're multi-layered in our thinking, and we can be multi-layered or present multiple meanings when we say sentences and stuff. There's this sense we're always limited in what we can convey and generate at every moment. So if a topic or an experience requires more from us to take into account to be able to do it justice, we will lose stuff. There will be fragmentations, and these fragmentations will kind of like just result in more confusions emotionally and intellectually. And then, there'll be different stuff that will happen, such as, oh, I'm trying to accelerate to get to like a conclusion or get to an understanding or to some comfort, or to not deal with the discomfort, the disorientation that comes from the fragmentation of just only being able to generate a few ideas, a few memories, only being able to access certain intuitions at a particular moment. On and on it goes. So, in many ways, at times, we are victims of our cognitive and emotional limitations, or the fact that we are limited to a finite set of quantities and particular qualities, and then certain patterns and so on, makes it so we won't get even certain novelties, or we won't even get to certain goals as far as what it is we seek to understand, what it is we seek to, I guess, experience a sense of peace in regards to. So all this plays a role when it comes to how these things play out and what's happening. Anyway, let's continue. Where she says, "We dwell between the rising and setting of the sun, our burning eyes encrusted with strains, our heads sit heavy, swaying and drooping." So yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear. Crust between your eyes, and but your eyes are also strained. You're just like, just like you're just kind of just stuck. Every day you're just stuck where you are. So dwell between the rising and setting of the sun, and your head sit heavy, swaying, and drooping. Just like, no, 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 no. I'm depressed, but I'm also saying no, no, shaking my head to this, and just kind of also letting my head just hang because it's like I'm dead. I've been hung. I'm done. I'm already dead on the inside. I'm done. So blindness, like the dimming coal of weariness, rekindles the sights, and we are set aflame to remember our affliction. So there are moments where it's like, oh, I forgot what I'm going through. It's like, those like attentional saccades. So it's like, oh, all of a sudden I just stop paying attention to what I'm dealing with, or I get distracted, or I'm not attentive or aware. But then all of a sudden, um, just like the fact that the blindness, like you're uncertain, you don't know what's going on. The ignorance just hits you, just hits like the fact that you're tired. Just like, oh, what am I going? Why am I going through this? And then you're able to like you just start remembering what you're going through again. You're just like, oh, I'm going through this again. This is what I'm going through. I forgot. This is what I'm going through. And my ignorance keeps reminding me why I'm going through this, keeps reminding me of what I'm going through, and so on. Hold on. So, I'm gonna send my friend Solomon the link. Open the link. Yeah, so we'll see. Maybe he'll come back. All right, so yeah. The next is we are the grass the ass's mattocks have uprooted. I don't really remember what the hell I was talking about right there, honestly. Guess just sense of donkeys, just donkeys just sitting on us, just breaking grass. Donkeys are considered stupid and foolish and whatever. So it's just like we're beneath fools, we're beneath stupid animals. On and on it goes. Allah's will not cover his wounds nor help my stomach. And I hope you note how like relational that she is. She's like noting, she's trying to like, it's very sympathetic, very sympathizing with what Job's going through. Because often, most of the time, people just kind of focus on, okay, I'm gonna send Solomon the link again. Let me see if we can open it. Let's see. But it's all good. I mean, this is actually part of what it is I was talking about. You never know how stuff's going to play out. All of a sudden, there'll be an interference that's just like, this did not need to happen this way. Like his phone going from 40% to 1% and then dying. And then, he's calling me as I'm making a video. And then, I'm sending him the link trying to see, will he open it? Come on, or will he not? So just one of those things, just, it could kind of throw you into the sense of, oh, I'm not in control, or which can either lead to the sense of completely abandoning execution, abandoning like just expression and trying at anything. 'Cause you're like, unless I have absolute control, like complete total control, I will not control any feature. I need infinite control, or my finite control is worthless to me. I will do nothing. Almost like a type of
bro.
rebellion, stagnation. Hello?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I've gone to another house. Check the view.
Yeah, it's all good. I mean, you could just keep it still on audio because, I'm still
Okay,
making the
okay.
video. So,
Yeah, it's
but
on charge. I'm sending it to you so you see it.
okay,
I was walking in the rain like like crazy. I'm carrying.
I believe you.
Yeah. Okay. So unless you share your screen, share
Yeah,
your screen again.
I'm about to share. I've moved
Okay.
on, but you can watch the previous part either way, or I'll just easily give you a summary as I'm continuing.
Okay.
Right now, I'm just kind of going through the psychology, if you will, of the suffering, or rather,
Okay.
it's a stupid word if you think about it. We call it psychology, like soul. I guess soul study, soul organization. Yeah, if you think about it, that's actually a better way to phrase it, because that is what you're saying, psychology, soul
Mhm.
organization. This is how the soul is organized or disorganized in this way. This is how the soul is orderly or disorderly, and on it goes. So, because ology is
Mhm.
order, organization, organisms organized, because logos, Christ. Anyway,
Logos. Logos.
yeah,
Logos.
yeah, logos. When you
Wisdom.
read, that too, like wisdom is also, uh,
Okay.
like if you ever read, the Gospel of John, the first verse, in the beginning was the
Mhm.
Word was with God, and the Word was God. Well, the
Mhm.
word is logos in Greek, which alludes to John was referencing John was fusing the Hebrew idea of I think from like the memra, which is the Hebrew idea of God's word, which is or his
Okay.
creative activity that God can
Mhm.
create as he makes stuff
Mhm.
happen. But it was also
Okay.
alluding to a Greek philosopher Heraclitus who said you can't step in the same river twice. In the sense like this
Okay.
world, the creation is a realm of flux, things constantly moving and changing. Even mountains
No.
slightly are always jiggling and changing, little details breaking up,
Okay.
things getting added on.
Okay.
But Heraclitus also pointed out there's a logos, there's an order. So despite the flux and the movement, there's still a structure, if you will. There's still, even if water keeps flowing, it's still water. It does not just become honey or alcohol
Okay.
or even
Okay.
like poop or something, unless like a
Mhm. Mhm.
so there's still regularities. So
Okay.
Ron was fusing this and saying, these regularities, this organization, this patterning, this structure, and also this creative activity, this is Christ before he became human.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Christ himself, Christ actually means you can say the ruling presence, the ruling intimacy of
Mhm.
the Creator, Yahweh.
Okay. I think I saw it in the very first how do you call it? The very first video you sent me.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I've hit on lots of different things before you came back, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just there's lots of stuff in this topic. So basically, right now, I'm just unfolding, you could say, the organization, the order
Oh,
of this character's mind and soul, as far as when we
okay.
go through things. Because even though in some part she's me, but not really, not necessarily. Because it's really interesting when you write a character or write anyone, where just like, you're able to like somehow generate the intuitions, uh, be able to like somewhat simulate
Mm-hmm.
how they would talk, how they would feel, how they be in different situations. So as a
Like
result.
putting yourself in their positions.
Exactly. It's empathy, honestly, because that's why people
Mm-hmm.
to read, because reading increases your empathy, because you're like, oh, wow, now I feel like I'm in other people's heads and I can be like, I can get how people can think certain ways or
Mm-hmm.
do
Mm-hmm.
certain things, or how people can even interpret other people who are thinking and doing certain things or saying certain things to them in the work.
Exactly.
So
Okay.
I tend to really feel like you really can't empathize with someone until you try to write as if you are them, or
Yeah. Yeah.
So like maybe you communicate back to them, is this how you're feeling? Is this your sense? And then the more you practice, it gets more and more refined and fine-tuned.
I get it.
So
I
that's a
get it.
skill I very much value. So right now I am at this line.
Okay. I am
I
the wasted fat of animals unable to be. Okay, good.
Yeah, basically he's like I am useless.
Okay, so you've crossed the dawn, right?
Yeah, yeah, this is a noon.
Okay.
Yeah. You can watch the previous part, when you start the video, you'll get to like the rest of the other stuff I said because
Okay.
I'm elaborating because this is more of a soul organization, unfolding of the organization of this particular soul, and
Mhm.
different people will find what to relate to.
Okay.
And then so she's like, I'm useless. Stripped of honor, he wears ashes for beauty, which is interesting. We could say
Okay.
sense of like if you think of like utility in terms of like masculinity and beauty in terms of femininity,
Mm-hmm.
she's saying, well, I'm useless because it's like I can't do anything for him. I can't clean up the situation, if you will. And
Mm-hmm.
he's stripped of his honor. And now, without his honor, he wears ashes for beauty. He wears his grief, his humiliation for his attractiveness,
Okay. Okay.
display of glory, on and on it goes, for his
Mm-hmm.
radiance. So you could see she's very empathetic. She very much sees this like I'm going through this with him.
So this is a wife on the side of Job, right?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to flesh
Okay.
out a character and make them like give you different facets of her. Where, um, yeah, she's not perfect, of course, but she's responding to this how honestly most of us would.
Mm-hmm.
And I tend to feel like people are very unfair to her when they read her. Like remember I mentioned to you, people are like they only know that verse where she said that, but they don't ask why.
Why she said that? I mean, maybe she had survived a lot of pain because it. You see, I asked the very first question. Okay, I thought it happened once, but no. You from the story you can see they weren't able to lay out how do you call it the vividly what went on till the point where she made that utterance. I don't know if you get it.
Yes, yes.
So it means before somebody can open their mouth to say such a thing,
Hmm.
they might have gone through like things that are beyond their strength.
Yes,
Exactly. So I'm human, she is human, so we have to sympathize with her. I don't know if you get it. Like
yes.
me putting myself in her shoes, maybe I would have done worse.
True, true.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, in fact, this line actually references to that verse, stripped of honor, he
Hmm.
wears ashes for beauty.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
keep in mind that she knows her husband is great. Her husband is like,
Exactly.
oh, this great man here, and they have like the wealthiest family, and this if you like think of like billionaires and millionaires and so on, people like these great
Hmm.
families and so on, and
Hmm.
if the ones that are actually very noble, the wealthy families we actually respect and love.
Hmm.
Think like Mansa Musa, even who's just
Yeah.
like,
Mansa Musa. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
So she's like, I'm seeing you stripped of honor while wearing ashes for beauty. Why are you letting yourself go through this? You're like all that we had came from God. And I guess I
Hmm.
don't fully know her relationship with God. That's why I decided to also explore it this way. And as I'm
Hmm.
doing so, I'm kind of unfolding and exposing true conceptions and misconceptions.
Hmm.
Because the fact that Job had to say to her, "You speak as one of the foolish women do. Must we accept good but not adversity?" Implying the sense of like even she's learning as well. And
Okay.
Job is just as ignorant as she is, but she too is still ignorant as well. Like
Exactly.
they both don't know what's going on, but Job has a sense like, well, he's God, right? So
Hmm.
if he can
He
give
can
good, why can't he give bad?
do whatever he wants.
Yeah,
Hmm.
pretty much. Like my mom used to always say that you don't treat the open, oh no.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's true.
Yeah, but the
But let me
problem,
let me
yeah,
say
good to
this
know.
thing too.
But
Uh, bro, as humans, right?
yeah,
A drop from the count of 10 to 0 is crazy. I mean, like,
yeah,
just imagine.
yeah,
And we didn't come like, I understand it. And she's female, let me put it that way.
yeah,
The feminine bodies, most of the time, are not, they're able to take pain to some extent.
yeah,
I don't know if you get it.
yeah, yeah,
So that drop from 10 straight to 0, bro, it's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah,
Real test of faith. I mean, yeah. That's real test of faith, bro.
yeah. That's why I call it a post-traumatic trust disorder.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah,
why I
yeah,
started
yeah,
like
yeah.
putting that
Yeah, I
hashtag.
saw that too. Yeah.
Yeah, because it be feeling like that. It's just like, dang, like I trusted this, and then I went through this, and now,
All
but
of a sudden.
yeah, yeah. But then I explained before you came on, I explained the difference between trust and expectation, or entitlement
Hmm.
even, and how people kind of mix these things up. Because trust is relational, where you
Exactly.
trust the character of a person, or the character or a situation, but expectation and entitlement have this sense of like you almost been given a promise, or you feel
Mhm.
like by virtue of being how you are or who you are, whatever,
Mhm.
you ought to get this. You will get this. Hell, you will get this even. Entitlement is like I ought to get this. I'm due to this. I deserve this. And expectation is like, no, I'm looking to get this. Like what are you talking about? Of course.
So I think expectations might be the humble part of entitlement, like
Yeah.
the humility side of it, right?
Yeah. Well, I would say they could all be humble or well, expectation can be humble or arrogant, where it's like I expect you to like make me king. That's
Oh,
arrogant.
okay. Okay,
But
that's arrogant. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but expectation should also be like, oh, I expected you to call me at this time
Hmm.
because usually you call me at this time, or I told you yesterday I want to talk to you, and you said you'll hit me up tomorrow or whatever. That's an
Hmm.
expectation
Hmm.
because now
Yeah.
there's a sense of promise.
Hmm.
You gave me your word.
Yeah.
So I was explaining how like sometimes people use these different states and situations and relationship stuff
Hmm.
publicly,
Hmm.
like treat them as if they're the same.
Hmm.
So then also I was explaining before you came on how like our finite minds, the way we
Hmm.
think and the way we feel stuff is in a very limited way and very broken way at times. So we lose
Exactly.
track of a lot of stuff. And then that fragmentation also makes us either more confused or we feel more confused and we try to get out of the confusion really fast and we make more mistakes. Then we kind of stay in confusion longer.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So
I
that's
mean,
why
we're broken.
exactly, yeah. So sometimes it takes a while. It's like, look, I cannot expect to come to a holistic understanding, a holistic healing while being broken. You know what I mean? That's
Exactly. Yeah.
unreasonable expectation. But that's how we work. It's like, no, I'm broken, my mind's all over the place, my heart's all over the place, but I should be able to get a completely good understanding and sense of relief right now. And it's like,
Yeah.
that is foolish, but we do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Expecting wholeness from brokenness.
Hmm.
It's emotionally foolish, but we do that all the time whenever we go, especially when we go through horrible things.
Hmm.
So yeah,
It's
with
true.
yeah,
It's true.
yeah. So with that said, I'll continue where she says,
Hmm.
his spirit is cold, but his skin boils with burning itches. And that's kind of obviously punning in many ways.
Hmm.
So spirit is cold, it's like kind of like you could say it's cold because he's dead, and it's cold because he's kind of like, I don't care. It doesn't matter.
Hmm.
Nihilistic. But then she's like,
Bro,
his mind
do you know
boils.
what I'm thinking about right now?
What?
I'm trying so hard to actually like imagine the days, like the actual days, like the days that these things were happening in. Like I'm trying to put this image in my mind where I just want to see Job, the state, that condition in which he was, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where like his wife was trying to, I mean, sympathize with him and everything, isn't it?
Mhm.
The skin from the pain, the inside pain to the external pain that people saw.
Right.
That's what my mind is gazing on right now.
Mm.
And I think the way you wrote things, right, it depicts it so clearly. Like it brings your mind more on the situation that happened.
Mm.
I don't know if you get it.
I get it. I'm glad.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it's a great I was just expressing raw, but I'm glad it does that because I wanted people to be able
Hmm.
to like just empathize with her.
Hmm.
See where
Hmm.
she's coming from. Don't just see her. Because often when I hear different sermons when they present Joel's wife, they present her as a villain many times. And it's like, in some ways, she is, in the sense like, God is good. But the thing is, we're all villains
Yeah,
to God's
yeah.
goodness. Especially
Yeah.
even whether we go through things or not. But it's just, it doesn't change the fact that we suffer. It doesn't change the fact that we worry, that we don't know what's going on. It doesn't change the fact that we're vulnerable. Hell, even God in the flesh, as Jesus at Gethsemane, he was just
Hmm.
like, this is too much for me. Sweating blood. That's how stressed he was, sweating drops of blood, or maybe sweating like drops of blood, just like he's just so stressed. And he's like,
Hmm.
if it's possible, even though he knew the good that would come from it, that is
Hmm.
saving us and also him gaining, eternal glory
Yeah,
as
yeah,
like the
yeah.
firstborn of the new creation, the firstborn of all creation, and the firstborn of the new creation that's to come. He was so like, if it's possible, because this is a suffering no one wants to go through, if it's possible,
Exactly.
please take this cup of suffering away from me.
Hmm.
But then he did what we can't do. He said, but not my will, but your will be done.
Hmm.
And after that, he prayed again. He said, and then when he did, then that's when Judas and everyone showed up. And it was like, God's answer to that prayer was letting the events unfold the way he wanted them to. You know,
Exactly.
So
exactly.
that's just that's why
His will.
yeah, exactly. And the reason why I remember I think I told you how like I made this work to be like Job's wife eventually she's going along. She's basically saying, can God even go through what we go through? Has he ever been human?
Been through, yeah,
Yeah, to
yeah.
actually get our pain and our suffering. And at Gethsemane,
Hmm.
oh, not even Gethsemane, even throughout the whole Gospels, especially when I read
Hmm.
John 7 and I see like you could say like problems he has with his family, his culture, um, his friends, on and on it goes, where it's just like, just like he experienced a layered suffering that different people scattered
Hmm.
around have experienced, where it's like, okay, I'm part of a colonized people. The Romans have taken over, their empire has taken over my people.
Hmm.
We're considered inferior and weird people due to our history, and we're considered a nobody people. I come from a nobody
Hmm.
town. It's just nobody people that no one respects or even thinks about. I'm, I guess, a carpenter or a stonemason, which is a job that's like, it's like you make stuff, but basically you're kind of like, I guess you could say a custodian. You're not that valued.
Yeah,
So, and then,
not really
exactly,
put. They don't really put much respect on that
exactly.
work.
Then on top of that, I
Yeah.
was born in a manger. I was not
Hmm.
born like, and my mother, how I was born, my mother was born, had me as a virgin, and it looked controversial as if she cheated on my dad.
Hmm.
And on top of that, the king of my country was trying to kill me so I had to like leave my country and go
Hmm.
somewhere else and stay there for like 12 years and come back. It's just basically you could say God put himself through so many different experiences that people go through in life.
Yeah,
Have
yeah.
did you
So
notice
that way,
that?
in that sense, he felt it.
Exactly, yeah. And if that's the brilliance of like Jesus, just like if you digest each of the stuff that he experiences, it's a lot of people's stories. You know, having to move, being born poor, being colonized, on and on it goes. Like just the different areas in life people experience in this world. So as a result, you could be like, yes, he can
Yeah,
identify.
yeah.
He can identify. He's like, there's no suffering or temptation that he cannot relate to. He's been there.
Hmm.
There.
Hmm.
He's seen the humiliation of just being like, you're from a nobody town. Or look, you're a
Hmm.
nobody person, bro. You're colonized people. You're worthless. You're inferior.
Yeah,
Bro, you're a
yeah,
slave. Bro. Like, okay, if you're so great, why don't you do this? Okay, you think you're better than all of us, don't you? Like, on, how people talk. He
yeah,
got it,
yeah.
got it all raw, like all the different
Mm.
stuff. And then he even got the fact that, oh wow, you're so amazing. There's no one like you. People say like great things to him, and then the same people are like crucify him.
That switch was crazy, bro.
Exactly, yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. So it's like that's the rawness of being human, and even the
Yeah.
crucifixion itself. Like I sum it up as like that was God concretely saying to human beings, "You see this situation here? Who I am God in the flesh, crucified and humiliated with a crown of thorns." And rejected by my own people and my own creation and on it goes. This is how it's like to love human beings.
Hmm. Hmm.
Oh yeah.
The
But then
biggest love ever been shown.
yeah. Yeah. And I'm presenting this way because this will happen. What I'm presenting about Jesus will happen in parallel to this wife of Job. So people will get God has made himself human
Hmm.
and he's gone through this. And even now he goes through this with those who seek him and come in relation with him, where it's like when you're going through stuff, it's like not only does God know all and sustain all, but now you know that God has been this particular qualitative way of existing and has been through this too. So the empathy, the sympathy feels a lot, you could say, richer, or at least more accessible to you. It feels more sincere
Hmm.
in the sense of like, because
At least.
if it's easy to say like, well, God knows what you're going through, it's like, well, yeah, why wouldn't he? He's God. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's different to say like, oh, God knows what you're going through because God became like you and he went through it too. That's different. That hits
Exactly.
different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
At least right now he knows the feeling of being human. He knows what it takes to be human. And he
Yes.
went through all the pain that you're going through too.
Yes.
Exactly. I get it. I get you. I get you, bro.
Exactly. That's the cleverness. That's the cleverness of this whole
Hmm.
situation.
Hmm.
So I'll move on to the next line where she says,
Okay.
I strike at the number of our days, wishing to be a darkness that knows not itself. Basically, she's just like, I wish I didn't exist.
Hmm.
If I could just die and fade into nothing. That's basically what she's saying.
Okay.
Fitz, Job said the same thing. It's just like if only curse the day I was born, like if only I died my
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like you go through things and you go through such great pain and stuff that you're just like, it would have been better if I never existed.
I mean, this is so relatable. We all like, I mean, the pain, people who have gone through pain. I mean, at a point in life, I think I told you, right?
Yeah.
I was even telling you these things. Like, I wish I was never born. I wish I didn't exist. I wish, there was a point where I was telling you all these things,
Yeah.
right? So like you see what I was telling you. These things makes it more relatable. Like these
Yep.
are real things. These are human like things that we experience,
Yep.
depending on the type of pain inflicted.
Yep.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah. So then she says, our comforts have fled like children trying to flee their own shadows,
Hmm.
which will take a while for me to process. I'm trying to remember what was I writing? Because even though like I wrote this, there's a way in which like I knew what I was writing when I wrote it, but because I'm not in the same mind and also I'm sick
Hmm.
or whatever, it's a lot harder to process. Okay. Children trying to flee their own shadows. Basically,
Our comforts have fled like children trying to flee their own shadows.
Oh, okay, okay, I get it now. Okay. So the children, okay, the comforts are running away, and
Hmm.
all that's left is their shadows. But the
Hmm.
shadows are always with the children. So there's a sense of like you always have the shadows of the comforts you used to have. Basically, she's
Hmm.
saying, I remember when I used to be comfortable.
Yeah.
But when I
Okay.
when I
Okay.
consider the lost comforts, I remember, like the comforts are gone, but I can't forget that I was comfortable before.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like, when people kind of go through like, oh, I remember when I used to be like this. Remember when we used to have this? Oh, you remember when we used to have this conversation? Or remember when we did this?
Hmm.
Like you start reminiscing on the good times, if you will.
Exactly.
So that's basically what she's going through. And then she kind of like goes through her material things. She's like, my filigree of gold. Do you know what a filigree is?
No.
I'll show you a picture. It's
Okay.
this.
Oh, it's more like a pill,
Yeah, it's like an ornamented like uh
chain or
yeah,
something.
jewels,
Jewelry.
going on and
Okay.
on it goes, just like a wire formed into delicate tracery. Just like it's just all ornamentation. It's like it's beautiful. It's supposed to be like, oh, okay. We
Okay.
can even look at like the meaning of filigree in the Bible.
Okay.
Like the intricacy and beauty of a craftsman.
Hmm.
Suggesting that the worship of God should involve the best of human skill and artistry.
Hmm.
So just basically she's saying like this great craft, well crafted gold, the
Hmm.
splendor of stones, these huge ornaments, these colorful like ornaments and stuff. Makeup, my makeup, she's wearing makeup and she's like, and my fragrances are filth. She's just like, oh, this is worthless, like what she's wearing.
Hmm. Hmm.
And she's like, the linen robes and well-fit sandals, as memory proves, were rags. Basically, she's just like looking at all the stuff she had. She's like, these were
Yeah.
worthless. I mean, if
Like
you lose your children, you lose all the stuff that you appreciate. Like, oh, I like my shoes, I like my suit, I like my, oh, no, it's like, this is
mhm,
worthless.
the
I went
material
through
side
this.
of it.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what she's saying. She's like, oh, you read this. She's like, this is amazing. But she's like, nah, I've been through so much. This here is worthless.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like she's like, it's filth. It's dirty.
I get it. I hear it. So
So
the material side of it,
yeah, yeah.
whatever she experienced in the past, right
Yep.
now, due to pain, had opened her eyes to a point where she feels like everything she experienced, everything she had was just worthless. Everything
Yep.
is useless at the same
Yep.
time. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
They're just an expression of poverty.
Mm-hmm.
It's like once you lose the sense of stability with the creation from the
Mm-hmm.
creator, all that you sought as a human being becomes worthless. But what you can
But yeah.
actually argue, that's part of the goal. That's part of the point of what this is happening, being like, depend on God first and foremost, only Him, not on what He gives you.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you keep the creation
Exactly.
the way the creation falls apart and destroys you.
Okay.
If you think
Okay.
about it, the Satan is a creation, the Satan, he's a creation. But the Satan came to the creator and said, let me do this to this feature of the creation. So I can show
Mm-hmm.
you this feature of the creation is not all that you say they are.
Mm-hmm.
Because when the Satan came, the creator was like, have you considered my servant Job? Have you considered, like, have you pondered? Have you understood? How do you understand this man, this particular person? He says that to all about all of us. He says to Satan, have you considered Solomon? Have you considered the person listening to this video? Have you actually pondered their nature, their character, and who they will be, and so on? And then the Satan, was like, "Pff, of course, human beings are simple. They're easy, bro. Like, take away any that you give them, and they instantly like will curse you. Like, it's that simple.
Exactly.
Like, of course, I've considered them. I know how they are. Look, how many people have
Mm-hmm.
I like this easily destroyed? I go around looking for people to destroy, and make give up on life, make depressed, make anxious, make them ruin their relationships, make them have no purpose. On and on it goes. This is what I'll do. They're easy to destroy. So why the hell do I got to consider this guy, bro? He's
Yeah.
done. Just take away all that good that you've given him, and then you'll see he'll curse you.
Bro.
Yeah.
Bro. Then it means that line alone. since the Satan or Satan has
Yeah.
been in existence for a very long time, he
Yeah.
actually really, really knows the human nature very well,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yep.
So that part where, okay, I get it now.
Yeah. And you could say, in part, I guess I can almost fast forward and say God is planning on changing human nature
Mm-hmm,
and almost trying to help humans overcome their nature. That is, through situations that, let me put it this way, who you are now, going through what you're going through, whatever it is you're experiencing, for you to overcome it is for you to overcome yourself.
mm-hmm,
If you're going through a situation that has killed who you are now, let who you are now die and become someone new.
mm-hmm,
And transformation.
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm,
one of the goals of God letting us go through trials and tribulations is our transformation in a way
mm-hmm.
that's deeper, more robust. Think of it as like ever heard of a caterpillar and butterfly?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, a
It's a
caterpillar.
stage like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Caterpillar it changes into a butterfly, but it has to shred off the, how do you call it, some part of it to actually grow into a new being. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So it gets into the cocoon and you could say basically liquefies. If you think about it, it technically
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
dies in the cocoon, and then it comes out as a butterfly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you could say these kind of crazy, intense situations are
Mm-hmm,
ways of giving us greater wealth as a creation,
mm-hmm,
as a creature, greater
mm-hmm,
glory. So you see it as like, oh man, I wish things just stayed the same. How they were good. Or this that particular thing I have, I just want to keep it like this till I guess I die.
right.
Like no,
So,
if you
bro,
think about it,
I'm
yeah,
noting something down first.
yeah,
So
okay,
one is God uses pain to make transformation. Okay. So
yes,
fear. So
yeah,
aside the fear is a divine form of emotion, and God uses pain
yeah,
as a point of transformation.
yep,
Bro, God bless you for this. I'm coming.
amen,
Transformation. That brings me back to a video that I watched, like affirming what you just said. You see the eagle, right? I
yeah,
was watching some documentary on it, and it also goes through like similar process. There is a stage where it's supposed to decide either to break its beak, right, and pluck out certain feathers of hairs so that it'll be able to fly back in the sky again. Because there is a point where it becomes so heavy and it's not able to actually hunt well. So
mm,
in order for it to actually come back to its originalness, it has to go into hiding for a very long time,
right,
break its beak so that a new one forms out of it and pluck certain parts of its feathers so that
yeah,
a new feather also grows. And that process is also pain,
yes,
but it's for good.
yes,
Did you get it?
100%,
Okay, so I've pinned it down.
yeah,
God uses pain as a point of transformation for nature. Okay, we
yeah,
can continue.
yeah. And in fact, even with him, like throughout the Bible, there are
Hmm,
verses where God is like not just an event, but he himself, he was like,
hmm.
where's the verse where he's like, I will be like a woman giving birth.
Yeah, yeah,
Hold on.
yeah. And labor isn't something easy.
Yeah.
Isaiah.
Isaiah 42:14, he says, I, the Lord, I, Yahweh, have been silent for a long time. I have been still and restrained myself. Now I will moan like a woman in labor. I will both gasp and pant.
Hmm,
Just like this. I mean, the context of this is just,
hmm.
um, Isaiah 42. No, just basically this whole passage is about just transformation, just him
Hmm,
casting judgment on the false gods, on it goes, just in short
hmm,
transformation that even God puts himself, he experiences pain to bring
hmm,
about.
hmm. I get it.
In fact, even when I remember, I think I told you I was reading Jeremiah 1 and 2, and what
Hmm,
stuck out to me was just just why would you create and put yourself through so much pain?
hmm.
But then I was like, well, that's like me asking any mother, like, why have kids? Why did you, the first time you had a kid, you were like, oh, why did you have a second one? Why did you had seven?
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
supposed to, a woman
yeah.
have like 13 kids, 20. I'm like,
Hmm.
like was the first time's struggle and
Yeah,
suffering not enough?
yeah.
What is wrong with you? You know, you think of like you look at it from like the perspective of just the pain. Like this is there's something wrong with you. The pain alone means this should have happened once,
Hello,
but
can
never
you
at
hear
all.
me?
You see? Because that's the logic of pain. The logic of suffering is like there should be no life. If you're gonna
Can
go
you hear
through,
me?
yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? All right. Anyway, yeah, I mean, what I was saying is just the logic of pain. If you reason from the perspective of just suffering and pain, you negate life. But if you reason from the perspective of life, you use pain, you use suffering, and you bring more life. If you use life, you use goodness, you bring more life, more goodness. But if you use suffering and pain and you bow down to them as if they're gods, no, no, you negate yourself, you negate all. That's the foolishness of our hearts. That's the foolishness of our minds. That's our weakness. Where it's like, how I used to like think that with my mom, where it's just like, well, I see what you
Can
go
you
through.
hear me?
Like, yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Good, good. I can hear you.
Yeah. So as I was saying was like, you know, when you think of what people go through and so
Hmm.
on. Because
Hmm.
I used to think to myself when I hear things my mom would say, you know, about like, mom would say, yeah, when I was younger, she'd say, "Until I'm able." Oh no, you're the reason why I'm
Yeah, yeah,
struggling.
yeah. The reason I'm suffering.
Yeah, you're the reason I'm suffering, you're the reason I'm struggling, and so on. And
Mm,
I always took that as like not because I don't want anyone to suffer.
yeah.
I almost took it as like, oh, I guess, well, like I mean, there were multiple layered meanings to that. When she
Hmm.
interpreted, she said that the sense of like feeling like chained and stuck with us as
Hmm.
kids and stuff, and chained and
Hmm.
stuck with her with the kind of life that she has. Because you know, parents can feel like that, where it's just like, oh, I'm stuck with this family. I'm stuck with these kids. I might have to be here.
Hmm.
Like, you might be like, oh, it's so horrible to think and say. It's like, no, but it's true. It's real. People feel like hell. People feel like that in marriage. I'm stuck with this woman
Exactly.
and
Mm, exactly.
can't leave. Or
Exactly.
sometimes even in friendship, it's like, oh, I really want to just stop talking to this person, but mm,
But
it's
I wanted to ask this one too.
what?
Um, in like in our human forms, like just like you and I, do
Yeah.
you really in our finite minds, like, do you really think pain should be a constant for transformation?
I wouldn't. Well, you use the word constant because
Hmm.
there's no constant pain necessarily, or rather, even a pain like if you say you may have like chronic pain or something like that,
Hmm.
there's
Like,
fluctuation.
let me put it
Huh?
back again. Like, pain should be like a gateway to, how do you call it? Success or like liberation or freedom. Do you think pain should be that, like more like a constant to self freedoms, like success and everything? Do you think like in our finite minds, being human, do you think it's right for pain to be a constant? So like before you get through this one, you're supposed to go through this. Do you think it's supposed to be that way?
Uh, hmm. I would not frame it that way. I would not ask the question that way because there are other features of us being human where we actually want pain. In fact,
Hmm.
imagine if everything you did, no struggle, no pain, no effort, instantly you got what it is you were after. That would feel like, I don't know, it'd be
Life wouldn't make
satisfying.
sense.
Yeah, there'd be no sense of victory. There'd be no sense of success. In fact, the reason why people could call it success is because they have a sense of what you have to go through to get there. Even if they themselves will not do it, even if they
Okay,
themselves
okay.
envy you from doing that. And
Hmm.
you want to know how we know this? Because those who are just born inheriting money, people resent them. But those who start out poor and work to make money, people respect them.
Exactly. I get you now.
So
I get you
pain,
now. Well answered. Well answered.
exactly. So pain
Yeah.
garners glory. Pain leads to glory.
Hmm.
Pain leads to success, victory, glory.
Hmm.
Without pain, you don't have a sense of a person's glory. Like it's like you didn't suffer, you never went through anything. Yet,
Exactly.
yet you got this good. So then you're like, look, I've been through this and I've never gotten any good. You didn't go through anything. You got that good. So now I'm envious and I hate you. Piece of
Hmm.
crap. You know, so you know how people are. So
Yeah, 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 yeah. True. Thank you.
you're welcome. Though I'll also add this. This might seem like a tangent, but I'm just referencing Job's children, you know, Job and his wife's children, where
Hmm.
you could say lots of people want to be wealthy, may want generational wealth, give
Hmm.
make money and give it to their kids.
Hmm.
It's crazy, strangely enough, they hate people who inherit generational wealth. You see, it's goofy. It's goofy.
Yeah,
It's like I want to get rich, so I can give it to my kids, but yet I hate other people for inheriting money from their parents.
exactly.
You
because
see,
they took it so easy. Life made it so
exactly. You
easy.
see, it's like
Yeah.
no, it's just envy. Human beings are goofy,
Hmm.
you know. So it's just like because if anything, the best you could say is, "Oh, you inherited money. Now please do more good for us."
Exactly.
That's what you can encourage. But if you just become resentful because they have money or they inherited money, it's like, well, sorry they existed. Like you see, like it's so dumb. It's like, would you
Hmm.
rather have them they be born more poorer than you are? Would that make you happy? Would that make you care about them?
No, I think the human mind, how we actually fathom things, like it's complicated and it's full of evil. Because like in this instance, bro, the only thing you're supposed to wish for them is proper management.
Exactly. Exactly. Proper management. Just manage the money. But like do good for us. But instead it's like you spoiled brat, silver spoon. You never had to work a day in your life. You just got the money
Yeah,
when you were like five. And then it's like,
yeah,
guess what? They walk around with that stigma. They're like, oh, everyone sees me as the person who got their mom and dad's money. They don't respect
yeah,
me. They think
yeah.
I never been through things, but it's like I have lots of fake friends. I have to live up to family expectations and maintain the
Hmm.
family name.
Hmm.
I have to inherit maybe a business that I may not actually care for, but I feel like I have to maintain because if not, I may lose the money. You know, on
Hmm.
and on it goes. It's like there's a lot of different internal pressures and pains and sufferings you can't imagine because you only see my wealth because you seem to think wealth is all there is.
Hmm. Hmm.
The wealth is
It's
health,
true.
not the same. I can be
It's
wealthy and sick.
yeah, it's true. It's true. Very true.
Yeah, so it's just the folly of human beings.
Hmm.
And in fact, it goes through here, these last two lines where Joe's wife says, the tatters I wear. So now she comes to like the present. Were my children alive, and my husband aided and not despised by heaven, would be a blessing.
Hmm.
Then I would wear this dust as a face with joy, and my lost hair would be my glory. So basically, you could say it's given her a sense of what's really important to her.
Yeah.
She's like, I just want my children to be alive and my husband to be helped. That would be a blessing. And I would wear this dust as a face with joy, and my lost hair, you could say she lost her hair due to stress, or she even pulled it out. Just like it's like you just go through stuff that makes you feel so crazy. You're just like, I'm pulling out my hair because like what's happening is making me so like I'm glitching out. I can't take it.
Yeah.
It's too much. I'm
Yeah.
just pulling out my hair, and my hair's
I
falling out
think
under stress, and my
the
teeth are.
more the pain continued, yeah,
Yeah.
the more she had wanted to settle for less.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. See? Now she's like, what's actually important to me are my relationships, the people.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you could say throughout this work, she's transforming. Even though she's
Hmm.
unpacking all this, she's transforming. She's
Exactly.
refinement. She's gaining focus on
Hmm.
what's actually important in her life. Did she Was it like the wealth? Was it like the social status? Or was it the
Hmm.
fact that she would have her children and her husband and they would be okay?
Hmm. The real needs. That's when she,
Exactly.
she actually pops out.
Exactly. And
Not the wants, the things like because right now we read through, and right now she's forsaking the materialistic side of her life,
yeah,
and right now she's actually focusing on what she really needs, like truly needs.
yeah,
Yeah.
the life of
Yeah.
those she loves. And if you
Yeah.
think about it, that's what Jesus is trying to give. He's like, I want to give you eternal life, and I want those you love to
Hmm.
have eternal life. I want all
Exactly.
my creation, these creatures who I love, to have eternal life. Because when you love,
Hmm.
you want people, those you love, to be alive.
Yeah. It's true.
You want
It's
them to be
true.
alive, not suffering, and not in a fallen creation.
Hmm.
You want them to be in Eden,
Hmm.
paradise, heaven.
Yeah.
You see, that's why the Bible is the way
Hmm.
it is. Because one of the things I noted when you left was she speaks as if this world is Eden, this world is heaven, when
Okay.
this is actually a
Like
fallen creation. Huh?
previously.
Yes, yes. In the previous lines, you'll see it, but she speaks as if this is Eden, this is heaven.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because when she talks about, he who stood the tent, the poles and stuff, like basically this is structured, this is organized. There's a way
Hmm.
this creation is set up, but she does not get it's you could say, quote unquote, it's a broken world, it's a broken
Yeah.
life. It's broken.
Okay.
So you have a perfect God who can fix all, dealing with a broken world with agents that are greater than those creatures, trying to screw those creatures up and trying to screw up the world.
Hmm.
And he's still letting it unfold, but he truly wants those creatures to align with him, to truly love him and want to relate to him,
Hmm.
be alive. But he does it in a way where it's like, despite the broken world, despite these super predators, these demons, on it
Hmm.
goes, he wants you to choose him as him and know that he is beyond the broken creation, beyond these demons, and beyond your sins and your suffering and your pain, and that he will redeem it. He will transform you and bring more good out of it than you can imagine. But
I
that's so
understand.
hard for us to understand and hard for us to accept.
Hmm. It's true. I understand. And these are the intentions of God.
Yes. So now nighttime, and then after
Hmm.
nighttime, I'll get to the section that's actually more of
Tirade.
my favorite. Yeah, the tirade where I just kind of just like rant and just like pour out. Because
Hmm.
right now it's like grief and somewhat fear, but
Hmm.
now the tirade is going to be rage, then move towards hope. So nighttime is the reclining into a moonless night crypts a silent script for the laughter of the crickets. You might be like, huh? What are you talking about? Just,
Hmm.
just, like night has like has a mystery to it. What's going on? Like I hear
Hmm.
crickets, and like the moon does not seem to be. I can't see the moon, and there seems to be some sort of like like the silence is expressing something. There's something being expressed.
Yeah.
Oh, you could say she's experiencing fear. She's like,
Hmm.
fear gargles darkness for my ears. Like
What are goggles?
like when you put water in your mouth and
Oh,
brush your teeth. Yeah.
okay, 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 okay.
So you could say her fear is making the darkness like make more noises. She's hearing more stuff
Hmm.
than it's actually there. So first she starts with like, oh, a silent script for the laughter of the crickets. You can almost put it like she's hearing demons, if you want to put it like that.
Hmm.
Hearing voices. She's being tortured by some things. So the fear is gargling darkness for her ears. And so
Okay.
experiencing a sense of fear. She's like, because it's nighttime, it's like, well,
Hmm.
we've gone through this, but daytime and noontime feel okay because the sun is out. Even if you're going through a horrible time, when there's daylight, you're like, okay, but when it's nighttime and you're still going through a horrible time, it feels even worse.
Bro. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
So then she continues, my husband sits in the broken palanquin of a foolish chief. I'll show you a picture of a palanquin.
What they use in carrying the chiefs?
Yeah, yeah. No, these.
Mm, okay.
My husband sits in the broken palanquin of a foolish chief. He's held up by slaves. And it's interesting what she calls slaves. Knee buckling promise. Like promise is like buckling its knees.
Hmm.
Can't hold it up. Knock kneed trust.
Hmm.
Knock kneed, your knees are
What does
facing.
that mean?
Like let me show you. The knees that are look like this.
Oh,
So
okay.
this trust has knees like this holding up the pelican.
Hmm.
And like promise is buckling knees. Like they're
Hmm.
shaking. The knees are shaking.
Hmm.
Blister-footed patience, like if you ever had blistered foot, it's like your feet are just full of blisters and are hurting.
Hmm.
So it's patience. The patience is like hurting. It hurts to be patient. And crippled wisdom, that is,
Hmm.
he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't understand. So crippled wisdom, it's like you're being held up by a cripple.
Hmm.
So
Okay, okay.
need buckling promise, knock need trust, blister-footed patience, and crippled wisdom. And these are the slaves that hold up him as a fool, a foolish chief.
Hmm.
And then, now she says they have carried him since his youth. Basically, you could say this is what led to her saying, curse God and die. Like, must you hold on to your integrity? Why do you keep trying to do what is right? Why do you still have
Exactly.
it's right to do this? So she's
Hmm.
like, they have carried him since his youth, made him upright and just to all, expecting that for good, it is God that rewards.
Hmm.
So she makes it clear. It's like, well,
But bro, let me ask a question too.
sure.
Like, do you have by exact years the number of years like he went through the pain?
I don't know. I didn't look into this works necessarily like that. I just kind of just took the story. I could look it up. I was looking up his friends, the different cultural backgrounds they come from,
Hmm.
and I thought it was very interesting. I was like, huh, okay. But we can actually look through that
Hmm.
next time too, or maybe like
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah,
project is done,
yeah,
we can look through it and be like,
yeah.
what can we learn about this work?
Mhm.
We can even read the whole Job work, so people kind of gain more
Insights on it.
more insights, especially with what his friends say to him when they come and visit him. And because this right now, just giving you know the person who I feel people tend to not pay attention to,
Hmm.
even though she actually packs a lot into that statement. Because the Bible tends to be like that, where it's like one sentence will have a lot layered into it for you to unpack.
True.
So next, she says, sorrow has carved a valley beneath his eyes, and the rivers are dry. you know,
Mhm.
not to say when you say, your eyes they sink, they go deep, but
Mhm.
there are no rivers. You can't even cry. You look tired, but you can't cry.
Mhm.
So the grave spits him away as a mouth with a bitter taste. Basically, he can't even die.
Mhm.
His bones rattle as if they're the brief moments of wholeness, for a stepped branch shatters. Basically, it's just like his bones feel weak, as if like he can easily just be broken.
Okay.
He's
Okay.
being destroyed.
The highest form of pain. The highest form of,
Yes, yes.
yeah, physical torture. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, yeah. So bitter he is not, and better is he than the knots of my thought.
Explain that part for me. Let me get it.
So basically, she's saying like he's not bitter necessarily. He's not bitter. He's just, just like as far as she can tell, she's perceiving like he doesn't look bitter. He just looks like he's about to break at any moment. But
Mhm.
he's still in a better condition than how my thoughts, like when you think of a strand or a rope, it gets knotted, it
Mhm.
gets tangled. So she's
Mhm.
like, my
Mhm.
thoughts are knotted.
Okay. Okay. So, though he was like going through a lot, he
Yeah.
wasn't even better at that point.
That's how she's perceiving him right now
Mhm.
when he looks like he's going to be broken. Because keep in mind, I'm
Mhm.
giving you her perspective. Like she's like tracking what he's going through and also expressing herself. But
Mhm.
she's like, despite how he looks, she still feels let me say she's feeling more fragile in her mind and in her
Mhm.
thinking than
Mhm.
how his body looks,
Mhm.
if you know what I mean. You ever
I
have that?
get it.
Yeah. So she's like, my thoughts are not. My thoughts
Mhm.
are tangled. I feel like I don't know how to think. I can't get out. Like I can't move. I'm stuck. But
Mhm.
that feels like my mind's going to break at any moment. So it's like while his body looks like it's going to break, my mind looks like they're going to break.
Mhm.
How what's held him up his whole life, promise, trust, patience, and wisdom has held him up, and they are about to break also. My mind's about to break. I can't take this anymore.
Mhm.
So then naturally that breaks into the tirade.
Like she's had enough,
Exactly. She's had enough. And that breaks into the tirade, which I will do
right?
in this video. So I'm going to end this right now, otherwise it'll be too long. So I think
Like
it's
she's gotten to a point where she's had enough.
yeah, she's had enough. Yeah, she's like, my thoughts are tangled. Like ever had there's like this idea goes here, this feeling goes here, it weaves with this memory goes here, my attention
Mhm.
goes here, and like it's like everything just feels broken, but also things are fusing that don't usually fuse, things are coming together that don't, on and on it goes. You're trying to keep certain
Mhm.
things away that shouldn't come together. You're trying
Yeah.
to put them together that you can't because things are stuck. So that's how she's like. So
Okay.
yeah. So I'm going to exit
The
out.
tirade.
Yeah, yeah, I'm going to continue that for the next video.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to end this one and upload it because I don't want the video to be so long that no one wants to watch it when they're like,
How
oh,
long is this one? Is
gosh.
it an hour?
This is probably like 2 hours at most.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, 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 okay. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna exit it right now.
Hmm.
But yeah, thank you, Lord. May all the errors be mine and all the wisdom and glory be yours.
Amen. Amen, bro.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, bro. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll meet you on WhatsApp. I'm just gonna after this downloads, then we may do the next video.
Okay. Okay. All
Okay.
right.
Cool.
Bye.
Bye.